we going?
Yep, this is part two. Unfortunately, guys, I apologize, but my battery had died. So fortunately, my friend Ayana has an iPhone. And so you were just telling me that you had graduated last year, this past May.
Graduated in May, and got a job on a lobster boat in Massachusetts to kind of finance it. And I've had some money saved up from landscaping and stuff. And then spent a good month and a half planning logistics and stuff, and then set out October 14th.
What inspired the entire walk across the country? Was there like a catalyst?
Well,
were you laying? Or did you have a dream and then wake up one morning and just say, you know what, I think I'm going to walk across the country?
It wasn't quite like that. It's been growing for years, I'd say, and going through different changes and iterations, and it became this specifically over the summer. I mean, I decided, I wanted to slow down. I wanted it to be kind of physically engaging, so walking made sense. I decided eventually I wanted it to be in this country and not abroad. I wanted it to be focused around people's stories. You know, I love writing, and so all these things, all these elements kind of came together into this specifically.
Right. Do you have any brothers and sisters?
I do. A 20-year-old sister, Caitlin, and 14-year-old brother, Luke.
And are your mother and father still together?
They're not. They divorced, separated when I was 14, live apart, and so I do most of my talking to my mom, I'd say. But I talk to my dad. I talk to my dad every couple of days, talk to my mom, touch base with mom once a day.
That's one of the reasons why I asked, because when you had this idea and when you brought it up to your family, were your parents as a cohesive unit? Did you talk to them at the same time, or did you have to talk to them separate? And what was their response? What was their feedback?
Well, they were supportive. I mean, my mom more nervous about it than my dad initially. My dad pretty much like behind me all the way. I think mom's been behind me all the way, no doubt about that. But as a mother, the preacher was talking about mother love today, and I think that mother love made it difficult for her to kind of accept that. But since then, we've all been getting used to it, and I mean, I have their unconditional support, which is invaluable.
How often do you talk to your family on this journey?
So I talk to my siblings maybe like once a week, Dad every couple of days, and Mom, if I don't talk to her once a day, I'll at least text her to let her know I found a safe place at night. Yeah.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
You know, of course, moms are always concerned because they often fear the worst.
Right.
What was the scariest moment for you on this trip? Or have you had any?
Scariest moment? There really haven't. I mean, I have not encountered a lot of badness, really, at all. Nothing too scary. I mean, there was one time where a raccoon kind of like snuffled up against my tent, or I think it was a raccoon, it was something. And it wouldn't go away until I like stuck my hand out and sprayed some pepper spray. And that maybe, but I mean, really the stuff that goes on in my head, probably,
Got it.
Just whatever, doubts, fears. Most of it's imagined in terms of fears, I guess.
Right.
Camping out at night in a place I may or may not be allowed to be. I hear a little sound that's probably a squirrel. It can be magnified in my mind to become some crazed landowner out to get me.
Right.
Nothing serious, really.
You just mentioned a second ago about pepper spray. Do you have any other weapons in order to protect yourself?
No, just pepper spray. I carry a couple pocket knives, but I mean, I'm not planning on using them on anybody.
So you started in Pennsylvania.
Yeah.
Can you give us a quick, where did you travel exactly from
The
Pennsylvania to
route
here
was,
this far?
From Pennsylvania down through Maryland to Baltimore, and then into D.C., through Virginia, kind of Charlottesville, Lynchburg, Roanoke, and then down to Greensboro, North Carolina, and then down to Charlotte, North Carolina, across South Carolina, into Georgia, through Athens and Atlanta, and then, here I am in Alabama. Can hardly believe it.
This is wonderful. Given this trip thus far, have you had any epiphanies or anything that you realized on this trip thus far that you've been able to reflect upon? Or?
Yeah, for sure. One of the big ones has been my assumptions about people are almost always wrong. And I'm wary of like generalizing, but I would say our assumptions of people are almost always wrong. Because people tell me, be careful, there are a lot of crazy people out there. There's a lot of meanness, and there is, and that's real. I'm staying with the police department here, and I mean, I heard some stories last night that give you nightmares, but I've been seeing that goodness, and even the people who I think are going to do me wrong or do me harm in some way, they come through and give me money for lunch, or something like that. I'd say that's probably one of the biggest epiphanies, and I don't know if this is an epiphany or not, but I'm learning so much about discipline and patience with the walking, and I think that's kind of a slow, continuous epiphany.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I mean, just waking. Okay, so 2 days ago, I wake up. It's probably 30 degrees out, and as soon as my alarm goes off, I know what I have to. I have to get out of my bag, pack everything up, put on my dirty clothes again, and walk X number of miles to get to Selma. And part of me doesn't want to do that, but getting up and just doing it. I mean, just got to do it. I mean, man, the people at Nike had it right. I hate to say, but there is something to that. I mean, just learning what it means to just get it done. And of course, the patience with walking, it's slow. Couldn't get slower.
Wow.
So.
Like I was just thinking about the fact that we're January 15, and you've been walking since mid-October.
Yeah.
Where did you spend New Year's Eve?
I spent New Year's Eve. I happened to cross a pretty cool barbecue joint, and I'm having lunch there, and they said, we got to chatting, and they said, well, we're going to have music here tonight, and there's a service tomorrow here. It was kind of like a biker bar church service they had in the morning.
Biker bar,
yeah,
church service.
Biker bar, barbecue joint, church. And these guys are great. So I ended up spending New Year's Eve with them.
What city was that?
That was in Hogansville, Georgia.
Hogansville,
I don't know
Georgia.
if you call it a city. Yeah.
So what are you going to do? I mean, you're here at Selma, Alabama, and you're here at Brown's Chapel AME Church, where we just spent the service. What are you going to do for MLK Day? Are you going to stay in Selma? Where do you
I'm going to stay here, yeah. I mean, it's kind of a beautiful accident that I'm here for MLK Day. I kind of realized a couple of days ago, like, oh, wow, I should probably stay for that. So I was planning on maybe taking a day of rest and then leaving tomorrow, but I'm going to hang out tomorrow, hopefully meet some people, maybe do a little interviewing of my own.
Cool.
And hear some stories, yeah.
And from here, can you tell us a little bit more about the rest of your route?
Yep, it's going to be pretty much cutting through southwestern Alabama down to Mobile, walking along the Gulf Coast through Mississippi into New Orleans. Going to spend a good chunk of time in New Orleans, I think, and then the trek out west across Texas, and thinking much past Louisiana gives me a headache. So
you are going to get to California. Do you know what
That's the
cities you're going to go to?
I haven't decided where I'm going to finish up, but probably somewhere south of San Francisco.
South of San Francisco. Are you going to get to LA at all, you think?
I don't know yet. I don't know. Yeah, somewhere between LA and San Francisco, so perhaps.
Well, definitely, when you get to San Francisco or Los Angeles, and if you end up needing a place, I'll be more than happy to be of any help.
Thank you, sir. Yeah,
that's really true.
I mean, careful what you wish for, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I mean it.
Thank you.
And a person like yourself that's doing something like a listening tour, or just walking across this country and just listening to people, that's actually pretty fantastic, I think.
Cool, thank you.
It's really inspiring.
Thank you.
I don't know, do you have any other questions, Diana? No? Do you have any thoughts or closing thoughts that you'd like to... I tell you what, if there were some things that you'd want people to know, if there was like a few things, messages or some thoughts you'd like to impart to just people, what would it be?
I mean, I've been finding that taking the time to listen gives me so much love for people, and like that man at the BP station. I mean, I walked in there, and it's not like I had anything against him, but I didn't know who he was, and to take that time, wow, So I guess I'd say, take the time to listen to someone. You'd be really surprised. Another thing this walk has been doing for me is just making me incredibly grateful each day for my body, for not raining, for for all sorts of things. So don't forget to say thank you. Yeah,
I think that's all that needs to be said. Andrew, thank you so much for
Yeah,
just taking the
thank you.
time to just do this
Absolutely.
impromptu interview.
Yeah.
I just thought your story was so cool that I just had to
Oh, I'm honored.
had a video.
I mean, yeah.
No, it's me who's honored.
Yeah.
Thank you. We're gonna keep in touch, all right?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Great to meet you. Yeah.
The pleasure was mine.
Great to meet you too.
You as well.
I've got a little website, walkingtolisten.com. I don't have a card I can give you or anything
okay.
like that, but
Well, I'm gonna share this with people, and
Okay,
so
cool.
maybe other people will get a chance to just
Cool.
click on it. I certainly will.
all right.
Well, God bless you, man, and
Thank
I
you,
look
sir.
forward to
Yeah.
keeping in touch with you.
Thank you.
Cheers.